Welcome to the University of San Diego Alumni Association and Minneapolis-St. Paul Torero Club event, COVID-19 Relief for Small Businesses. My name is Megan O'Rourke, and I'm the Associate Director of Regional Programs for the Office of Alumni Relations. During this time, we are focused on offering programs that are at the most need of our alumni. And one of the things that we realized during the pandemic especially is just all of the different relief options and how much they change and what you can tap into and all of that. So what we wanted to do with the lead of Christina Bergstad, Minneapolis-St. Paul Torero Club president, is walking us through the COVID-19 relief options for small businesses. Now, this event is good for anyone who has their own business, anyone who is an exec, who is learning to or looking to learn more. So we're really happy that you joined us today. And for those who joined us at a later time, thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you at another event soon. Alrighty, so before we get started, I wanted to let everyone know that this is an interactive session. We have some polls, we have some questions, so we want to get a feel for the room. So please be as participatory as you can, and you're more than welcome to turn on your camera as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Christina Bergstad to go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Megan, for that intro and for hosting the event. So yeah, as Megan said, we are going to be going over some options for relief for small businesses. Can everyone see my screen? Great. Okay, so see if I can advance. So today's agenda, we're just going to do some introductions, and we're going to start off with a poll for that. And then I'm just going to give a really high-level overview of some of the relief options that are available to small businesses. And then we're going to have a time at the end for some discussion about how people are using the relief options and go over some questions. So we'll start off with the first polling question. So that should be coming up for you. We just want to kind of get a feel for who is participating today. So the first question is, how did you best describe yourself? Business owner, company executive, decision maker, accountant or business advisor, USD student, or someone that just wants to learn. All right, so it looks like we have some business owners in here, which is great. Wonderful. And if you want to also, there's a chat box on the Zoom. And so if you want to put in where you are tuning in from today, that would be great. As Megan said, I'm in the Twin Cities, so I'm here in Minnesota where we are under a winter weather advisory right now. So let's see in the chat. All right, well, Megan's in San Diego, great. So if anyone else wants to pop in there, great, Tahoe, awesome. Oh, Minnesota, good plan for heading to San Diego next week, especially with this winter advisory we have here. Okay, so we'll end the poll since I think everyone has responded. And so if you can see, so yeah, we have mostly business owners in here, so that's great. Okay, so this is just a list of some of the relief options that are available on this next screen. So most of these came out through two bills that were passed in March of this year in 2020. Many people are probably familiar with the first two, the Paycheck Protection Program or PPP, and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan or the EIDL. And there's also a grant portion along with that loan. And those two came out with the CARES Act, but there's also a bill that was passed before that, and it was called the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. So yes, there are a lot of acronyms that we'll be going through today. So with that bill, there were actually some tax credits that are available, and there is also the employee retention tax credits. You can do a payroll tax deferral. The unemployment benefit system has been changed because of COVID-19, and then there are a lot of different state and local programs that are available too. So we'll be going through each one of these at a high level. Of course, today we don't have time to go through all the details, but we'll at least touch on all of these. And I also put together kind of a list of resources that will be emailed out, and I think Megan might put it in the chat box as well. You can always reference that if you want more information. And we're also going to be sending out the link to the PowerPoint slides as well. So you'll have that as a reference after this. So just kind of to get a feel of who, for those that are attending today, if you've taken advantage of any of the programs. So we have another polling question, and it's, have you taken advantage of any of the business relief options that were just listed? So you have a couple of different options there to choose from. So we'll go ahead and bring up that poll, just kind of see where everyone is at. Okay, so we have the options of yes, to the full extent, taking advantage of them, taking advantage of some, no, but you're interested and not sure. Okay, great. So it looks like we have some people that have, and then one person that hasn't, but is interested. So here are the results from the poll. And I guess I could have voted, I'm in that second bucket. Yes, I have taken advantage of some for my businesses, so. All right, so let's kick it off with the first one that's out there, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP. Some really cool accountants are calling it the P3. So just if you hear that, that's also the same program. So this is an SBA loan that is new as part of COVID-19. It was not a program before, it's new, but it's administered through lenders. So banks, credit unions, what's called fintechs. So your PayPal, Lendio, those kind of online financial businesses have been lending out these types of loans. They were for small businesses, and the amount of the loan was 2.5 times average monthly payroll, up to 10 million at a low interest rate of 1%. The loan term varied on when you actually receive the funds, and there wasn't a guarantee required for these loans. The thing that made this program very popular, one of the aspects, was that you could get loan forgiveness if you received this Paycheck Protection Program loan. So loan forgiveness is where you might not need to pay back that loan. You can either get partial or full forgiveness of the loan. So that made this program extremely popular. And the first round of this has been closed out. It closed out in about August timeframe. So as of today, you can't go and apply, but it is expected that if another stimulus package is passed, that there will be a second round of PPP available. So it would be available to anyone that didn't get one the first round, or if your business has had a decline in, right now the threshold is set at 35% compared to last year, then you would also be able to get a second round of PPP. So the intent of this program was to keep people employed and to utilize the loan funds that you received for payroll costs during a certain time period. So a lot of people received these loans starting back in April. And so they've used the money. So a lot of businesses are in that time frame where you're thinking about loan forgiveness. So if you follow the program requirements, you can apply for loan forgiveness from the lender, and you can then receive full or partial loan forgiveness. So you might not need to pay back anything on the loan. Loan forgiveness is, especially for this one, is quite a big topic. And I've done various trainings on it through the SBA, and we'll just cover a couple different aspects of it, and it's like an hour-long training. So we're not going to do a deep dive into that, but one of the resources that I have is my website where I have more information on that. The next one that we're going to go into is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or the EIDL. This is still available, so you can still go to the SBA website and apply for this. It's a loan for small businesses. You can get up to $2 million, and it's a 30-year loan term, which is a very long loan term for small businesses. The interest rate is 3.75 for for-profit entities, and no personal guarantee is required if you have a loan of less than 200K. There was a grant option for this. So when businesses applied, they were able to opt in to receive a grant of up to $10,000 per business. That was separately funded, and that funding ran out in about the July timeframe. It's not expected that more funding will be added to that program, but the loan itself, the core loan, the economic injury disaster loan, is still available. So to apply, you would go to the SBA's website, sba.gov, and you would do the application on there. It's pretty straightforward application. It takes about 15 to 30 minutes to apply. And the rule of thumb for the amount is that businesses receive about a loan of about 6 months worth of expenses. And the thing to remember here is that this is kind of like an emergency loan, and it's intended to be used for working capital. So there are some restrictions on how you can spend the money that you get for this loan. So it's working capital. You use it for day-to-day operations to keep your business going during this period when we're having this pandemic. So, paying your accounts payable, buying materials and inventory and supplies, kind of those recurring expenses. It's not to go and, build a brand new fancy office or maybe get a luxury car for your business. So just something to keep in mind. Now, the two that we just went over, most businesses are familiar with those. They've heard about them. But what I've been finding is that not everyone is familiar with the tax credits that are available through the act that was actually passed kind of mid-March, which was the Family's First Coronavirus Response Act, or the FPCRA. So in case we need a refresher from Tax 101, tax credits are great. They are different from tax deductions. So tax credits reduce the amount of tax that you owe on a dollar for dollar basis. So if you get a tax credit for, say, $2,000 and you owe taxes of $10,000, you can subtract that $2,000 off of the amount you owe and only pay $8,000. So tax credits are great. And if this applies to you, you should definitely be taking advantage of them. So under this act, there are 2 tax credits that are available. And of course, we have more acronyms to give you. So there's the tax credit for emergency paid sick leave, or the EPSLA, and then a tax credit for emergency paid family leave, or the EFMLEA. So the second one, people are probably more familiar with FMLA, the family leave. So this is just kind of an expanded version of that. So the qualifications for this is the business has less than 500 employees, and the eligible time period is for leave taken by the employee between April 1st of 2020 and the end of this year. And there are 6 qualifying reasons that are eligible for paid leave. And we're not going to go through each of them, but the gist of it is that either the individual employee is either experiencing symptoms and seeking medical treatment, have been diagnosed with COVID, or are under quarantine or isolation because they've been exposed. So something related to them, they need to not go into work and take paid leave. The other option is if they're caring for someone that is either sick because of COVID, or if they have a dependent that has their school or childcare closed and they cannot work remotely. So they have to fall kind of under one of those 6 qualifying reasons to get the paid leave. One thing to make sure that you do is, if you do have employees, is to you are required to notify them of this paid leave option. So I've been finding that not all businesses have been doing that. The Department of Labor, which is one of the resources on the sheet that I sent out that Megan put in the chat box, they have some great resources of just downloads, one sheet pieces of paper that you can provide to employees to let them know about this option. So just keep in mind that if you do have employees, you are required to let them know about this available leave and then pay them if they do qualify for it. So the amount of leave that you can take is, under that first one, is 2 weeks. and for the employee to take, and 10 weeks of leave under the EFMLEA. And the amount of pay that an employee would get for this paid leave depends on various factors. So we're not going to go through all the different details on this, but it could be, why they are taking the leave. If there are some maximum daily thresholds in place, et cetera. So you as an employer are required to pay the employee for that time they take off if it qualifies and it's eligible. But on the flip side, you can get a tax credit for the amount that you had to pay out to those employees for the qualified eligible leave. So it's done on your quarterly tax return. You would figure out how much you paid out on your for your employees for that paid leave, and you get a tax credit equal to that amount you paid. So it is also available to self-employed individuals. It's just a little bit different because typically if you're self-employed and you're like a single member LLC or something similar, you're not running payroll for yourself and using a payroll provider. So the process is just a little bit different, but it is available to self-employed individuals as well. The next one we're going to go over is just the employee retention tax credit. So another tax credit that's available. To be eligible, businesses must be fully or partially closed, or that they have a 50% drop in quarterly gross receipts. So for this one, you can receive a tax credit of up to $5,000 per employee. The thing to note with this one is that this is not available to a business if the business received a PPP loan or a loan under the Paycheck Protection Program. So it's either one or the other. That's the way the legislation is currently written. This next one, I'm going to breeze through quickly because I just wanted to let people know that it is available. So there's the, you can defer the employer portion of Social Security taxes, where you would pay half and by the end of 2021 and the other half by the end of 2022. But a lot of businesses haven't been taking advantage of this one as much. And I really don't recommend it unless it's absolutely necessary for cash flow. It's just, if you are able to pay your portion of Social Security taxes, just do it now. It's never a good thing to owe the IRS money. So, only take it if you definitely need that cash flow. The last one I'll go through in detail is this unemployment benefits. So the unemployment benefit system is a federal program, and it really changed significantly with COVID-19. Previously, to be able to receive unemployment, you had to be a W-2 wage earner and paying into unemployment. So you were employed, you got a W-2 from your employer, and every pay period you had money taken out of your paycheck to go to unemployment. But the CARES Act that was passed in March really revamped how that program is done. So we have a few more acronyms for you guys here. So there are three main things that it did. One was it added this pandemic unemployment assistance. Some people call it PUA. So it extended benefits, these unemployment benefits, to self-employed people, freelancers, independent contractors, and business owners. So you did not necessarily need to be paying into unemployment to then be qualified. So it greatly expanded the pool of eligible people that could receive unemployment. The second thing that it did was it added a federal benefit of $600 per week in addition to the regular unemployment earnings. So you would get your regular unemployment and then an additional $600 per week, but that expired at the end of July. The current stimulus negotiations include an extension of these benefits so that that would start up again. So that's one thing that's currently being debated. And the third thing that was changed was that it extended the amount of time that people can claim unemployment. So unemployment is a federal program, but it's administered at the state level. And each state has different rules. And if someone applies for unemployment, it's done with your state. And again, every state's a little bit different. So here in Minnesota, the maximum amount you can claim for unemployment is 26 weeks. California, I think it's a little bit less. So what the CARES Act did was it extended the amount of weeks you can get benefits by 13 additional weeks. So in Minnesota, people can get the 26 weeks plus an additional 39 for a total of 39 weeks of unemployment. So those were kind of the big changes. It depends on the state of where you live and how they're kind of handling business owners. But if your business has been significantly affected by COVID-19 and you're not pulling in the profits like you did previously, you might be entitled to this, even if you are still running your business and you have employees and you haven't been on a W-2 yourself. So again, it's state by state, and we're not gonna go through everything, but what's recommended that is if you think you might fall into this category, to just go ahead and apply with your state to see if you're eligible. So there's no harm in applying for it and going through that process, and then you can determine if you would fall in to receive unemployment or not. And of course, there are a ton of different county and city programs, and through the state, I put some websites here for the SBA and SCORE. SCORE is an organization that's partnered with the SBA, and they're a nonprofit, and they have a lot of great webinars, resources for small businesses. And on the resource list that Megan sent out in the chat and is also going to be in the thank you email, follow-up email, I put in, it looks like San Diego too has a lot of different city and county programs, and I put the link for Minnesota too, but there are a lot of different ones out there. So now that we've kind of covered that big overview, we'll do some question and answer, but I first want to just get some people's opinions. So we have our third polling question, and it's, in your opinion, what program do you think has helped small businesses out the most? So we have the options of the PPP, the EIDL, tax credits, unemployment, or you have no idea, you're not sure. So we'll get that polling question up in a second here and kind of see what people have, what think has helped out the most. All right, there is a poll. Okay, so it looks like we have 66% in, so I'll give people a couple more seconds here. All right, so I'll share these results here. So everyone that responded to the poll said that the PPP has helped out small businesses the most, and you know, I definitely agree with that. It started off a little shaky by some of the small businesses that were out there not being able to get loans, but you know, the turnaround and funding was then available, and it went out to a lot of businesses. A lot of different businesses have received the PPP, and it went out to help payroll significantly. And on the next slide too, I have the next round of stimulus proposals, and actually the second round of PPP is on there. As I said before, if you know this next round of stimulus goes through, there would be another round of PPP would open back up. Again, it's not, you can't apply for it right now, it's closed, but they might do the second round where if you didn't receive it in the first round, you can apply and get PPP. And then if your business has had a significant decline in revenue, you can apply for a second PPP. So even if you did receive one in the first round, you can get a second one. That's how it's currently written. Of course, this is, you know, back and forth. If you guys have been following the news, this next round of stimulus has been debated actually since May. So it's been a long time. And it looks like they one day might be making a deal or being close to one. And then the next day it's like negotiations are called off. So it's kind of been a roller coaster. But what I have here is kind of, the items that have been agreed on by both parties. So that second round of PPP, and then also another stimulus check to individuals and dependents, but that's based subject to a phase out based on your income level, and extension of the federal unemployment benefits. So those are some of the things that both parties agree on. We'll see if it gets passed. And my next polling question is actually kind of predicting if you think it's going to get passed and when. So our last and final polling question is, when do you think the next round of stimulus will be passed? The options are in the next few weeks, for the end of the year, early next year, after President-elect Biden takes office. And then the last option is, I don't think that another round of stimulus is going to happen. And I put this together and then realized too later that President-elect Biden might be a bit of a controversial phrase for some. So I'm not trying to be political, but okay, so we have about 50% of votes in, so we'll wait for a couple more minutes. All right, so everyone has voted. Let's see what you say. So some people say before the end of the year or early next year, with the majority going to after President-elect Biden takes office. So that's interesting. We'll have to wait and see. Some people do think it's going to happen before Biden gets into office, just because they want him to have a clean slate. So we'll see what actually happens, but I think a lot of people are hoping that something gets passed. So we'll just have to see. All right, so on my resource list, I have some different resources that are available. If there have been any resources that any participants have found found out there and that have been helpful, feel free to put them in the chat box so that others can take advantage of them as well. And we'll go ahead and see if anyone has any questions on what we covered. And I think there was a chat question that yes, you will be getting copies of the slides. And we have a comment here. So that unemployment program probably hurt some small businesses. Yes, we did have, there was an interesting dynamic because a lot of people were actually earning more, getting that extra $600 a week in unemployment. So they did not want to go back to work. So it left small businesses not in the greatest position. So, currently proposed, it would be if a stimulus goes through and we, they extend the federal unemployment, it would be an additional, it's been back and forth, but anywhere from $300 to $600 a week. So, but I think they are trying to consider to what happened before with people not wanting to go back to work and instead just collect unemployment. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
Christina, we had a couple of questions. Oh, there's one that just came through the chat. I will go ahead and ask mine after.
Great. So do you think the PPP will be available to businesses that received it in the first round if one part of the business has been drastically affected, or will they look at the whole business income? So this is a good question. And, they're still in the middle of kind of drafting everything. And so nothing has been set in stone of how they're going to evaluate which businesses are eligible. Right now, it just kind of reads in general that if your business as a whole has been affected and has had a decrease in revenue year over year. But I think it could be that if you're able to present, a good set of facts and circumstances to the lender, that it is possible. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see to, what the exact language is when and if anything is passed for that second round of PPP. But what I am recommending to people in the meantime, because we're in this long waiting pattern to see if the stimulus happens or not, is just keeping all their books and their everything reconciled and up to date, so that if something gets passed, they have those numbers ready. And, you know, whether it's part of your business is affected and you want to just show that, having those numbers ready to go, so that when something gets passed, if it does, then you can just go ahead and apply and do the paperwork, and not have to get your books up to date and then also apply. Any other questions, Megan?
Yeah, some people wrote in about asking for you to elaborate on the forgiveness of the PPP and other SBA loans. So if you could touch on that, or if that's something you think you already covered, I have a couple of other ones as well.
Yeah, so forgiveness is something that a lot of businesses, that they're in that phase right now where they're either ready to apply for loan forgiveness or will be in the near future for the Paycheck Protection Program. And that is the one loan program that is out there that you can receive forgiveness for, unless you have a, you know, some kind of state or local program where that might also be an option. But the other big loan program that's out there, that EIDL or Economic Injury Disaster Loan, there is no forgiveness piece to it. So it's just the PPP. So there are a lot of different rules right now, and they have been changing over the course of several months to get loan forgiveness. Thankfully, they've been changing to make it more flexible and easier for businesses to get forgiveness. So there are a lot of different rules based on, you know, your head count numbers, the amount that you paid out, how much you spent on payroll versus non-payroll. So there are a lot of different factors, but that resource list that that Megan put in the chat box, that has some stuff too. My website has a lot of information. And I also in there linked to the American Institute for CPAs, and that they have a great resource center with a lot of tools as well.
Alrighty, another one came in, which is, what is the current accounting system and how should that be submitted for forgiveness for loans on PPP?
Yeah, so you know, for the accounting, it just depends on how you're doing your application, and there are a lot of different ways to do it. So it's kind of specific to your business. You know, that's one of the services that I'm offering to small businesses too, is just helping them get all the paperwork together so that they can go to the bank and just hit submit. So, you know, it just depends, but just, you know, I encourage businesses to keep track of how they're spending that money that they received for the PPP, whether it's in a spreadsheet or if you have an accounting system. A lot of different accounting systems allow you to kind of put your spending in a class or kind of flag it so that you know how you spent those dollars. Or just even if you're still on a paper basis, just making copies of things and putting it in a file on your desk. So somehow keeping track of things. The other thing I will note though, is that there is no rush right now for loan forgiveness. You know, when you receive your loan, that's kind of when, you know, the clock starts ticking, and a lot of lenders kind of use that phrase, which got business owners a little bit on edge. But that day you got the loans, you have 24 weeks to spend the money. So you have a long period of time, that's about 6 months. And then from the end of that date, you have another 10 months to apply for loan forgiveness with your lender. So it's over a year from when you received the funds that you need to apply for loan forgiveness. So there's no rush. Yes, you know, you shouldn't wait for the last minute. And if, you know, you should keep track of things along the way. But, you know, I'm just telling people to kind of take a deep breath, don't stress out about it. You know, there isn't a rush to get those loan forgiveness applications in. And with the second or the next round of stimulus, there might also be additional rule changes because there are some that are proposed for it. So there's no harm in getting things ready and just kind of waiting to see what happens, and then submitting the application once we know more details, because they might actually, some things that are proposed are just having a threshold where if you had a loan less than a certain amount, it's kind of a lot simpler application where you just kind of have to self-certify that you spent the loans correctly and you don't have to supply all the support. So there's no harm in waiting because we have a long time before they're due. All right, any other questions coming in? I know we went a little bit over the half hour, but
yeah, one more just came in, and
Yeah.
it's, do the rules change for sole proprietorships?
if this person's asking relating to PPP, there was a little bit with the, I won't get into, I know all these rules back and forth, unfortunately, but the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act, the PPPFA, was passed on, I think it was June 6th, and that provided a little bit more flexibility for sole proprietors. So you can use that full 24 weeks, so you can get the full amount of the loan forgiven if you are a sole proprietor, which, you know, might have been the case before, but the Flexibility Act really allowed to get full forgiveness if you're a sole proprietor. And there's now also a new form that came out a couple of weeks ago, the 3508S, which one of the resources that's listed, I did, and who knew that I'd ever be doing a blog, but apparently I do now. I have a blog post on it walking through the new form because it really simplifies things. And that's, if you are a sole proprietor, you can use that new form, and it's very simplified. It's a one-page form and walks you through what you need to submit. And I see a question here in the chat box too of any forgiveness for the EIDL, and there isn't any right now. Some people have speculated that they might, but there hasn't been any big support behind that. You know, Congress is more focused on other parts of the stimulus, including the second round of PPP. And the second part of this person's question is if there'll be another round of the EIDL for businesses. And first of all, if you don't have employees, you still can apply. You can apply now. It's not limited to businesses with employees. And, you know, the first round of EIDL was based on 6 months of operating expenses. This pandemic is lasting longer than 6 months. So, you know, there has been some talk to see if more funds will be allocated to those who have already received it, because, you know, 6 months is not enough. You know, so I don't know if that will happen. It doesn't look like that's very likely. But there are some other loan programs that are in the works that are being proposed. So everything is tentative right now. So we'll just kind of have to see how it goes. And, you know, again, we'll see if and when this second round of stimulus is passed and what it includes. And then I see one question in here, what's the blog? Yeah, so I've been getting frequent questions from clients. And so on my website, which is numbersolutions.com, that's my business, I started kind of posting things in my blog. And I also have an email subscribe list where I send out periodic updates to people. And so on my blog, I just have, you know, some of these main topics of, you know, that new form for the PPP that came out for forgiveness and things like that. So it should be linked in the resources list that Megan sent out. Great. And again, I just want to emphasize too, there are a lot of city and county programs. I know here in Minnesota, a lot of my clients have been getting grants from the county, Hennepin County and Ramsey County, even cities. You know, that's been another great option too. So, you know, just finding, like if you even go and Google the city that you're located in or something and just look to see, that's also an option too. So don't forget about those because there are a lot of grants that are available.